The Sword and Shield era is drawing to a close, but it's going to go down in history as one of the best ever, with some of the most collectible Pokemon cards of all time, like the OR Umbreon, the Shiny Charizard VMAX, the Golden Snorlax. The list of cards goes on and on, guys, and today I'm going to walk you through that list of the must-own Pokemon cards from the Sword and Shield era. So, let's rip into it. Alright, so today I'm going to run you through the list of the must-own Pokemon cards from the Sword and Shield era. These are cards that, if you can get them at a good price, they're definitely ones that are worth adding to your collection. Or, if you already own them, definitely look at keeping hold of them for a while, because I think they'll go down as some of the most desirable and collectible Pokemon cards of all time. You see, the Sword and Shield era is when a lot of people got back into collecting Pokemon or started collecting Pokemon for the very first time. And when an era has this level of popularity, you do tend to see resurgences in value, and this is down to one thing: nostalgia. Let's take base set for example. When that came out, it was the thing. It was extremely popular. Everyone was collecting, and when the boom happened for Pokemon again in 2020, the price and the value of the cards from the base set were the ones that saw the early rises and went to extreme levels of value that were way too much in my opinion. So in theory, if there's a future boom or in future Pokemon anniversaries, we could see people returning to the hobby during those times who more than likely collected during the Sword and Shield era and can in a sense feel some sort of nostalgia and want to own cards from the Sword and Shield era once again. Now, I do not see the prices going anywhere near what we saw during the hype of 2020 or anything like that, and I'm not saying any of these cards are going to do that, but there is a good possibility that those cards will pick up again during any form of hype in the future. Now, I'm sure what I've just said and the cards that I'm about to show you may cause a little bit of controversy, and it will give some opinions going. But I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, if you agree, if you've got another theory, or if there's some cards in this list that I should have added. Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, let's jump into the list. First up is the Radiant cards, all of them. I think these are a really good item to add to your collection. They're actually super cheap to pick up now. In particular, you should be trying to get hold of the Charizard, Blastoise, and the Venusaur from Pokemon Go. Next up, amazing rares. I love this. One of the coolest designs. I'm so gutted that we've not seen more of them, and it's actually very unlikely we will ever see amazing rares once again. I really think these are worth adding to your collection. In particular, the Rayquaza. I love me a dragon. Oh, and speaking of dragons, that leads me perfectly on to today's sponsor. Bloodlines Heroes of Lithas is a free-to-play fantasy collector RPG. I've really been enjoying playing this game, and in particular the battle system. I love the animations of it, how easy it is to battle, but also there's some real strategy that can go into it about picking the right combinations of champions and placing them in the right formation on the battlefield to make sure you get that victory over your enemy. Little tip, guys, go and add one of my favorite bloodlines, the Dragonborn, to your front line, because when the moment strikes, you can change into a dragon. It looks wicked, and you're going to clean up. As a collector though, my favourite feature in this game by far has to be the companion system. The way you can take two of your champions with different bloodlines, marry them together to create brand new champions. They're going to have completely unique look and combination of abilities and traits, which really adds an awesome collectability aspect to this game that I really love, and I'm sure a bunch of you watching are really going to enjoy that too. So I highly recommend that you do go and give Bloodlines a go and download it for free. Just make sure to use my link in the description or the QR code on screen. That way you're going to get yourself a nice welcome bonus with some gold, diamonds, and intimacy points that are really going to kickstart you on your journey through the Kingdom of Lithas. Next up, I had to go for the first ever VMAX card, the Snorlax VMAX. This was like the poster boy for the Sword and Shield era, essentially. It was the jumbo card that you got when you went to game and you bought it, and I think it's a wicked card. I love the design, and it's a really good one to add to your collection as well. Not very expensive to get. Then we have another VMAX, the Charizard VMAX from Darkness Ablaze. It just has to be in it. Look, Charizards will always retain some form of value, kind of regardless of what type you get, and I personally love this. It was the first VMAX Charizard, and it kind of kickstarted the whole line of the other VMAX Charizards that came. Yeah, this one's a must get. Next up, I went for Trainer Gallery cards because I love these. These were a unique thing that they put in Sword and Shield era, and by that I mean they actually gave them like the TG symbol. We've seen like character rares before, but never something given its own official subset like this with character rares, and I think they're wicked. So many of them as well are very cheap to pick up, and I think owning the whole collection of this through the Sword and Shield era would just be a wicked thing to have, and also very popular in the future. Then we have a promo card. Actually, I've gone for the Pikachu and Friends promo. This was the one that came out of that figure box. I don't know if you remember it, guys, and I think it had like a Cosmic Eclipse booster pack in the kit itself. The promo card is awesome. It's the Pikachu, and it's got all the Galarian starters in there as well. Some more promo cards, guys. The special delivery collection, the Pikachu, the Bidoof, and of course the Charizard. These are such cool promos. They're all related to like Pokemon Center events and stuff like that. I think these are things that are very, very cool. Then I went for the first gold cards, the first gold secret rares, Zacian and Zamazenta from Sword and Shield. These were the legendary dogs from the game, and they were the first gold secret rares that we saw in Sword and Shield, so ones that are well worth having. Next up, I went for the Marnie, the one from the milk carton. This one was like crazy. Do you remember the hype that was around these milk cartons and the value they were selling for? Well, that card is still super popular and definitely one worth adding to the collection. Then I went for the golden Pikachu and Charizard promo cards from the Celebrations UPC. These will eventually one day probably be able to be graded again by your PSA and CGCs, because I don't believe either of them are grading them right now. But obviously when they eventually do, the hype for them will come back when they announce that and stuff. And they were just kind of like iconic. It's the first time Pokemon have released like an official metal card like this. After that, I actually went for the alternate art Gengar. So I personally think this is a really cool card, and Gengar is so popular. It doesn't matter what era you look, there's always been a Gengar with a cool artwork, and people have always wanted it. And this is one of the best looking ones they've ever done. So for that reason, this is a must buy from the Sword and Shield era. Then we've gone for the Celebrations Mew and the Classic Collection as a whole, in particular the Charizard and the Umbreon. Those three cards are absolutely stunning, and they're ones like Celebration was so hyped. It's something that's going to live long in the memory. It was the 25th anniversary, so when another anniversary comes around, I could definitely see the popularity in these picking up. Then we've got the alternate art Mewtwo from Pokemon Go. Now, don't get me wrong, the Pokemon Go set fell a little bit flat and got boring pretty quick. However, this Pokemon card here, the alternate art Mewtwo, is seriously cool, and like alternate arts, I think are just a great thing to have in your collection anyway. And this one's definitely one to add. The Sleepy Tyranitar from Battle Stars. I absolutely love this card. Now, don't get me wrong, Battle Stars was a brutal set. It also followed a holiday set, meaning it always kind of struggles with popularity because people are used to good pull rates and then it goes to bad pull rates and they're like, oh, it's terrible. But what a card this was. This set introduced us to alternate arts, and this was like the pick of the alternate arts from that set, so it had to make the list. Then we've got the Galarian, Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos from Chilling Reign, the alternate art versions. These were absolutely stunning, the most valuable cards in the Chilling Reign set as well, especially that Moltres, which I love. And of course, this was like the first big appearance of the Galarian versions of the legendary birds from the Sword and Shield era. Then I had to go for another Charizard in here, guys. We got this shiny Charizard VMAX from Shining Fate. Shining Fates were obviously a huge success for Pokemon, and everyone was obviously chasing down that shiny Charizard VMAX in the set. It was featured in some advertising in the build up to the 25th anniversary as well. It had so much hype around it. For that reason, got me in the list. Then we have the alternate art Aerodactyl. Getting into some of the later sets, guys, Lost Origins of course, but this is already making such an impression on the Pokemon community. The rise from being like a £50 card up to like a £150 card, like purely because it's impossible to pull this card. Then we have the Charizards from Champions Path. These were absolutely wicked cards. The V though was my favorite of the two, and the one that if I could only pick one, I would go for the V. Of course, the set as a whole, Champions Path, was actually, well, Champions Path as most people called it. Other than these Charizards, it was pretty dead, but these are very special and they're Charizards, so they're always going to be popular. Then we've got the alternate art Machamp from Astral Radiance. This card just climbed so drastically in popularity and value. It was like a £40 card, like pretty much on release, and then skyrocketed to well over £100. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact is that Machamp has never been given such love like this, and Machamp is still a seriously popular Pokemon. A lot of people remember remember the Machamp and getting it in the theme decks and the first edition Machamp that everyone seems to have. So I think it got a lot of popularity due to that, and it's definitely one, again, to keep in your collection. Next up, we have my favourite gold card from the Sword and Shield era, the Golden Snorlax. I love this card. It's got crazy value to it. It's one I still don't own, but it is extremely popular. Then I went for the Rainbow Pikachu from Vivid Voltage. Like, it's a Pikachu. It's the mascot of Pokemon. The rainbow version, it's crazy valuable anyway as it is already. It's just always going to have fans no matter what. Even if Pokemon is going through the lowest of lows, people want Pikachus. This is just one of the best. The Chubby Chew, the rainbow version. I've opened so much Vivid, never managed to pull it. It's not easy to get. Yeah, it had to be right up there near the top. Now, just before I show you guys the last couple of cards, I would like to remind you that I have a huge announcement coming here on the channel in like a week's time now. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that alert bell so you don't miss it. And also, if you are enjoying the video and finding it useful, do consider giving it a like. It'd be very much appreciated. Then we got the alternate art Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies is probably going to go down as one of the best Pokemon card sets ever. People still absolutely love it to this day because it has some absolutely fantastic cards, and this one is definitely one of them. Then I went for the alternate art Charizard from Brilliant Stars. Wicked card. The first Charizard alternate art from the Sword and Shield era. Beautiful. Just had to be there. And then finally, guys, the Moonbryon, the alternate art Umbreon VMAX, what I believe is the most valuable Pokemon card from a main set in the Sword and Shield era. It is so popular. Some of the graded versions in 10s go for stupid amounts of money. If you have it in your collection, it's definitely worthwhile keeping hold of it for a while longer. Now, my final note, though, is that there are actually going to be some cards coming out between now and the end of Sword and Shield that I definitely think would end up making this list. For example, the Charizard UPC promos. There definitely be ones that will be extremely collectible. We're going to see the set Silver Tempest, which is likely to have an alternate art Lugia. If that is the case, that's more than likely going to be another one that would make this list. Could be one of the biggest Sword and Shield cards of all time, actually, if that card comes along. Also, we're going to be seeing a holiday set at the beginning of the new year, which will be like the last Sword and Shield thing we see. It'll be like a Shining Fates, Hidden Fates style one, and it's going to include cards from the Japanese set V-Star Universe, which is looking absolutely incredible. It's going to have tons of different alternate arts in it. It's going to be amazing, and we're more likely to see loads of those in a future holiday set at the beginning of the year, and there's a chance that some of them could definitely make this list as well. So there we go, guys, the list of the must-own Pokemon cards from the Sword and Shield era. What did you think of it? Do you think I missed some cards out? Do you think my theory is a good theory, a bad theory? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say. Other than that, though, thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Hit that subscribe button, ring that alert bell so you don't miss that massive news I've got coming in a week's time. Stay safe. See you in the next one. Peace.